Have you felt demotivated? Don't feel good about yourself? Has your sex drive dropped? Want to feel good again? Want to feel like you're 16 again? Those. It's about targeting those pain points. What you feel now compared to when you felt when you were younger.
This one's for you and you and you and you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Da 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 da.
Talofa everybody, welcome back to episode 12 of Organic Talanoa. Got an awesome guest here today, businessman, fitness guru, also massive in our community, Richie Aholelei. Welcome to Organic Talanoa, Mauso.
Thank you, Uzo. Thank you. It's a privilege to be on this platform. Honestly, Uzo, I feel really privileged to be on this platform. And the fact that you're raising mental health, especially in our males, I think it's awesome, Uzo. So thank you so much.
Oh, just a little bit about yourself. So I guess I'm thinking about everybody knows like Richie's very common name. I'll bring it back to now. I think your ancestry is back to Tonga. So,
Yeah.
I know how common Aholelei is, but man, our Tongan families out there that like to is there a connection between you might have some long lost cousins out there?
I think it's funny because when I was a kid and I was about 15 years old, there was this famous bodybuilder. His name was actually Richie Aholelei. And so when I was a kid, I don't know, there was that Lion Red show. Do you remember that Sports Cafe with I think it was Mark Ellis and I forgot who it was. There was a few other amazing individuals, and I think it was on TV2 at like 8:30 p.m. at night. And so they interviewed this guy, Richie Aholelei, and then all of a sudden, the next day, it was funny because a whole lot of people from my school who were saying to you, oh, you related to that bodybuilder that was on, I think it was the Lion Sports Cafe anyway. And so I did some delving in regards to that, but nah, I'm not related to that guy. So I got my hopes up because, funny enough, it leads to my next journey of my life. I actually got into bodybuilding myself. But yeah, he was a big guy in America. I'm not too sure where he is, but I know he served in the Marines and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I don't know whether I'm related to a lot of Aholeis. It's quite a small name, but there are a lot more that are coming through from the islands, obviously with the generations and all that type of stuff. A little bit about myself. So yeah, my dad's Tongan. My mum is Māori. I do probably take more of my Tongan side just due to me being brought up in Tonga. However, my mum is proud Māori. She's from Ngāpuhi as well as myself, so I suppose it allows me to, no offense, but it allows me not to have the big Tongan nose. A lot of us Tongans have a big nose. I don't have the Tongan nose. I've got a Māori nose, good for honging. But yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I've got about 4 siblings, so there's myself, 3 siblings, my 2 little brothers and my little sister, and then my mum and dad, so yeah.
Oh, nice. Ngāpuhi, eh?
Yeah. He was also a multicultural person,
Dad's villages back in Tonga.
Yeah, so he's from Vava'u, which is one of the side islands, and it's a village called Makawe. So that's where I reside from in Vava'u. And my mum, it's from Kaiō, way up north. Right up north. Yeah. I think real close to 90 Mile Beach. I think there's a bay called Shipwrecks Bay, and I know that she resides from there as well. So, yeah, got the bush in me. But I've never been in the bush. Shucks, plastic bushman.
Do you go up there often, up to Mum's?
Man, funny enough, Uzo, I was thinking about it literally about a month ago, because I know that the beaches are beautiful up there. But due to opening a couple of businesses, it's kind of restricted me in a way. Like I haven't been to Tonga for about maybe 3-4 years, and I used to go quite often, like every year. But yeah, I haven't been up north for some time, and I want to go up there real soon, literally. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's like a lot of us, we get busy in life, bro. Yeah, just try to get that opportunity. When you get it, bro, go up there. I reckon.
I will.
It sounds like a real mean ass place.
Yeah, the beaches up north are quite phenomenal. Like I've seen some postcards of some beaches that I haven't even heard of. But the ones that my mum's from they are pretty incredible.
Yeah. Oh, nice, bro. Just want to pull it back to there was a mention of just with business, being busy with and it's always good to see someone like yourself that's involved in business, because there's a lot of us who think about how it can be done, but that itself, like what sort of I guess, businesses you've got going at the moment?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of gyms. I just established a new one, OTB Health Club in Papakura Takanini. So I've got that going at the moment. I'm also a chairperson for a non-profit organisation called Kuriki's Charity. So we run multiple projects for the community. And then we've got another gym that we're opening up in the next coming weeks called Fast Fitness in Te Kaupata. So I've always been quite business focused. I've owned another gym before, which was CrossFit, literally about 2 kilometers down the road from my last gym, my current gym. And then I owned a meat shop in Papakura. That's where I first met you. And so I owned that as well. And so I've kind of delved and made businesses quite successful. Because I think a lot of our brothers don't realize that the key to business is just a people's game. If you're a people person, and obviously if you've got mind of like numbers and understanding financial sense, you can make anything successful. And so I've owned a meat shop before. That ended due to just differences with the business partners. And then my last gym, that ended due to personal reasons, which I'll probably delve into with the topic of conversation when it comes to hard times. And then, I currently own 2 gyms and I'm a chairperson of a charity. So,
starting off those businesses, bro, like they wouldn't have been easy.
Nah.
I guess in terms of like how you got about and maybe either getting money or whether you had to sacrifice a few things in yourself.
Main question. So a lot of the time, like when it comes to business, it's about knowing your demographic, like your target audience. Like what's your point of difference? So especially with gyms, that's probably the biggest thing that a lot of people don't realize. Like you've got to make sure that you don't want to cater for everyone. You've got to literally refine your audience and literally go 100 on that. There's that saying, I was listening to a podcast actually about a month ago, you don't want to be anything to everyone. You want to focus on just a small demographic. So for the gym scene, I've gone from owning a 24-hour gym, which kind of catered for everyone but mainly females, to just focusing on a female gym now. And the key is you got to make sure that you've got a good vision of the overall product. And then that way, when you've got your good product, you can actually identify who you're going to target. And that's where I think a lot of our people, they kind of open up the box where they want to cater for everyone. And then what happens is you don't have the ability to market properly. So with our marketing, especially with OTB Health Club, we just focus on women, literally everything woman. And what it does is it gives us more direction. So, you won't see us marketing to males, unfortunately, just in that regard. And that's just for me from a business context. Like, even though it's a female focused gym, I'm the one that drives it. Well, not drives it, but I'm the one behind it in a way. And so when it comes to starting off a business, that's probably the biggest thing, is that you've got to have that vision of what you want to sell, and then from there you've got to understand who you're going to sell it to. And once you target that, you literally the blueprint is laid out for you, because you know how to market, you know who to market to, you know how to sell it, and all that type of stuff. For instance, like when we had the meat shop, we knew that we were focusing on our whānau that didn't have enough money to go to Countdown or New World, so we just focused on cheap meat that we could get it at a cheap rate and sell it cheap. That was basically the model. And then you just basically know how to work the marketing. So for instance, when I'll do the videos, it would be like kia ora whānau, or, speaking in the islander language like Talofa Everyone, because you're focusing on our demographic. And then that way you know how to branch out your marketing. So that's probably the biggest thing, is being able to create a following as well. That's probably one of the biggest things as well. Massive. Once you get a good following, for business, when you're starting off a business, it makes everything easier. And what I like to do is create that anticipation. So when I go out for a business, so like we're doing it at the moment with my other gym down in Te Kaupata. So I've never been in Te Kaupata, literally my first time ever. And so we're kind of redoing everything we did with OTB Health Club. But what we've done is we've literally managed to focus, again, find our demographic that we want to focus on, and then basically create a a following. And the key for that was basically creating anticipation, again, identifying who we want to target, but then also knowing what the product is. So it's a functional gym, focusing on females. So I'm not on I'm on a few videos, but we're focusing on mainly females. So a lot of the videos got my wife, a few of our female trainers as well. So that obviously it's relatable to the demographic that we're trying to target. The one thing that the other thing that I think is the biggest thing is raising capital. No matter what business you do, you've always got to focus on raising capital and making sure that you know your outgoings. That's probably the biggest thing. Like, for instance, when you got a gym, you got to understand like your lease, and then you got to understand your OPEX, then you got to understand the labor cost, and you got to understand everything else that's affiliated, like your insurances, your licenses, and all that type of stuff. And then it gives you a good idea of what your break even will be. So that will give you a good idea. And then obviously, if you know who your target is and how many memberships you need to sell, it gives you a good idea on whether you need a overdraft facility for those darker days, for those quieter days, and obviously to get your ball going. We were quite blessed from the get-go. From month one, we were in the green. Obviously not by much, but we're at a point where we literally could cover all our costs without having to pull back into the business. So not once have we had to pull back into business, which is a blessing, or we've had to get an overdraft or anything like that. So that in a sense is a blessing, because then that way you're always moving forward. And so what we do with our profit at the moment is we just reinvest back into the business. So we just upgrade, lighting, whether it's equipment, marketing. We do a lot into our marketing. So yeah.
Is there a thought of looking in towards, I know the target has been the woman, which is probably one of the, I guess, part of the groups too that Sporting Z is sort of targeting as well. But for yourself, do you think there should be a little bit more out there now for some of our men?
Hard out. I think so. The goal would be to focus on what's one of the biggest issues for our men. And I forgot who I was talking to, but the person had a great, that's what it was. It was my friend Ahmed. So he sells supplements. And so he's got a good supplement company called Premium Nutrition. And I'm not trying to sell anything here, team, but he does have a good supplement line. So he's got the likes of Carlos Spencer on board. He's got David Tour on board as well. And I think he's working on someone else. And I said to him, bro, you've got a good brand here, because you can literally use this to focus on our older men. Because, a lot of our older men, what they don't realize is, I forgot what age it is. I think it's maybe 25. Your testosterone drops. I forgot what percentage, but it literally starts to drop down. It might be 30 as you get older. And so if someone was to work on marketing something to target our men, I reckon it would go off. But it's about hitting those cues, like, have you felt demotivated? Don't feel good about yourself? Has your sex drive dropped? Want to feel good again? Want to feel like you're a 16 again? Those. It's about targeting those pain points. What you feel now compared to when you felt when you were younger. Do you want to feel good again? Do you want to feel like you have a chest again? Like those things. I think if someone branched and really got into that market, they will do really well with our men. And I think it's definitely something that needs to be identified, because I do know that a lot of suicide happens with our men. And I think whether it's social media, whether it's the demands of life, whether it's, because a lot of men, they don't really take or participate in physical activity. It could be that. But yeah, it could be a collection of things, but I definitely think that there is a space for someone to really go hard in it.
Yeah, I mean, because I was thinking about there are a lot of active men out there, and there's a massive group that probably just aren't engaged, as is when they look at kids. It's the same sort of thing. They look in schools. It's you've got kids who are engaging in sports in there, but then you've got a big, massive group that isn't as well.
They don't do anything,
I see that you were mentioning around work with BBM. So is that anything towards working towards that sort of stuff, or is that more the community side?
Yeah. So also Dave, so we're collaborating with our charity. So we provide different projects, and one of our projects is a financial literacy course. So he wants to collab to be able to provide our financial literacy course alongside his it's Get Back to Work kind of initiative that he's doing everything with his crew that he supports. So that's basically how we kind of collaborated. I've known Dave for quite some time when he was the notorious Butterbean also, and when everyone hated him. It was funny as because people used to hate him. Remember when he was hated on it? Like people used to hate him, man. It was funny. And so when I first met him, I was like, man, this guy has actually got a lot of humility, you know, like this guy is, bro, and then he had to put on that persona to try to sell his fights. Yeah. And he's got a remarkable story. Like, honestly, he lost everything in Australia, came back, literally was on the couch, I think, and now he's so successful right now. And I think it's a God thing for him. The fact that he had, I think David Higgins was one of his best friends, the promoter for Juco. And so, I've got a lot of respect for that guy.
It's good to see the work, and I see he's he's got a sort of captured group on the obese ones.
Yeah,
I guess because that's another stat where we actually a lot of the Māori PIs they sit high in as well.
Well, it's funny. I had a catch up with some of my colleagues, well not colleagues, but some of the people that help us with our kurikis that work on the Te Whatu Order board. Yeah. So they flew up from Wellington, and the stats that they were saying was crazy. They were saying the Pacific people die 7 years average compared to the average Kiwi, which I thought was quite remarkable. So, for instance, the average Kiwi might live to 80, where Pacific Islander will live to 73, and I thought that was unbelievable. And they were saying a lot of it comes down to their diet. Diabetes, education. A lot of them don't have the education that what we had in New Zealand, growing up in New Zealand, understanding sugary foods, what it does to you, and I think a lot of it comes down to spending. A lot of our islander folks, they don't realize, spending money. If you're going to spend money like this, it's going to be a detrimental on byproduct towards your food because you won't be able to afford the better foods. So,
it's quite a hard one too, because it's as you sort of stated earlier, with if you can get like cheaper cost of meat, it might not be the best cuts. It's kind of what we have to deal with. And that's kind of like some of the products that we're getting from overseas. Maybe it's maybe high in sugar and they're a bit of a cheaper version. But and that's probably sometimes they all can afford it.
Well, here's a funny thing. So, funny thing you said about cheaper to import it. So, when I owned the meat shop, we were getting bacon from, shucks, I forgot where it was from. It was from one international country. I think it might have been American. So, it was cheaper to buy overseas meat than it was to purchase meat from the local farmer. Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. And so I spoke to our supplier, and they were saying because of the cost of grains, all that type of stuff in New Zealand, that all obviously adds to the bottom line of what you would pay for in terms of meat here compared to international, because obviously what they feed their meat is, I don't know whether you've seen some of the videos, but it's rubbish. It's literally rubbish. So obviously that's why it's cheaper. So even though it's cheaper, it's a lower quality compared to what you'd get from New Zealand. It's kind of like, I suppose, gas, you got 98 compared to 91 in diesel. So that was an interesting fact, and that was one of the main reasons why we could sell our meat cheap, was because we were importing it. And so
I was just thinking about the experience, but because when I was back in France, it was bro, our lamb, the real good exports, man. Bro, I was like cheap ass.
True.
I was going,
it's bizarre, like how New Zealand food in New Zealand is more expensive, but when you buy it internationally, it's much cheaper. I don't know whether that's got to do with inflation, whether it's got to do, but there's major, I can't comprehend why that's even a thing. Like someone posted, I think, the same compatible shopping trolley compared to what it would be in Australia, and the price was different, and the fact they used New Zealand dollars as well to represent each item. So they had like milk, chicken, bread, butter, and it was just bizarre, the fact that the New Zealand trolley was way more than the Australian trolley. And this is all grown in New Zealand. It was just crazy.
For yourself with community, bro, I think it was quote you were, if you look after the community look after you. And I know you've done a whole heap of work, even coming in during the lockdown periods. was the one stage you came in, give you a
Yeah.
hand to help pack up the food.
That's right, as well, yeah.
But yeah, that part that's a good story in itself. Coming
Yeah.
through.
So the way I looked at it was, because obviously during lockdown, everything had to close down, you know, and, you know, what are we going to do? Just sit around and, you know, be sad about it? Or we're going to go around and help people, you know? One thing that I always try to tell people, you might not have money, but you've got time. You know, everyone's got time on their hands. And so what we did was, during the lockdown period, I said to my wife, Jess, I said to her, hey, you know, this is an opportunity where a lot of poppies, you know, tall poppies have been cut because obviously no one can operate, but it's an opportunity for one to shine through, you know, for people to remember you. And so what we did is we ended up promoting, well, not promoting, but telling people we're going to give free food away and all that type of stuff. And it worked tenfold because we got so many people come through. It was crazy. One of our food drives, we actually shut down all of Papakura. It was crazy because we had so much food and so many people needed it. And so what it's done for myself is it's established my name in terms of community work.
Yeah.
So what you said before, so true, was like, you know, if you do something for the community will always help you out, kind of thing. And so it's helped me substantially because obviously now that I've got a business, obviously we rely on, you know, community help now. And so people will always remember what you've done for them in the past, you know what I mean? And so it's that saying, people always forget what you say to them, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And the fact is, we tried to, during the lockdown, try to make sure that we made people feel welcome, feel warm, feel like there was something there for them.
Yeah.
And what that allowed us to do right now is it's given us opportunities to get more sustainable resources like funding and all that type of stuff to be able to create more sustainable projects instead of just doing food drives now. So yeah, even though at the time it didn't make much sense, but now looking back, you know, it all kind of interlinks with each other, why we were called to do that job, to do that mahi. So yeah.
That was sort of, I guess, a strange time for yourself because it was like, one, your business wasn't going.
Yeah.
You're going to go into a venture where you're giving away stuff, but it's like, hold on, I need help too.
Yeah.
But, I guess, how was that for yourself and with, I guess, the wellness for yourself?
It was definitely trying, but I've got faith.
Yeah.
And that's something that I definitely give accolades to my parents for establishing myself in church. And you know, it's that saying also, if you go, you got no fear, you know, it's that saying, if you got God who can be against you, you know what I mean? Also, like, and that's why whenever I do something, I do it full 100 because I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I don't fear anything. Like, I'm more than willing to lose it all again, because I just got that faith in me that whatever will happen. And so for me, there was not much fear. I just knew I had a calling at the time, was to help people. Being raised up in Tonga, that was something that really helped me, and that was something that my family established in myself, was always give back. I'll give you the case of example. So obviously being in the islands, man, the temperatures are sweltering. Like, you're looking at 35-degree weather. And so my granddad, he would always, if we were driving after church, people were walking, he would always pick people up. And so for myself, it was always established at a young age to always help people out. And so still to this day, my auntie, every Sunday, they wake up at about 3 a.m. and they cook, and then they take before church, and then they start taking food around to people that are less fortunate. And so I was blessed at a young age to be exposed to that behavior, because then it's always been something in me. So I've always had a heart to help people out. And so during that period, during lockdown, when our businesses couldn't operate, for me, I just had to have faith that something was going to eventuate from it. And so looking back now, I couldn't look back. I couldn't. It's been a blessing, because it's that, I think in Chinese or Mandarin, crisis means opportunity, but also it means like death or something like that. And when I first found that out, I was like, wow, that's something to consider, you know, because even though there was a crisis happening, there was still an opportunity for something to happen for the better will of my life. So
It's good to hear business 101. But I can see, like, for yourself, how you I mean, you bring a lot of energy, my brother. You know, like I can just feel it, come through. And I just always think in terms of when we're looking at, I look back to your, I guess, your physical side, physical wellness. Like you touched on the bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I like how you sort of went into it, delved in it through trying to be linked to someone else. But for that side is how was that? That would have been how was that in terms of one for yourself physically, but then also having a goal to push towards.
Yeah, I loved it. And you obviously know my brother Mateo, so he was the one that actually helped me compete. So I've done about 6-7 shows, and bodybuilding is an interesting sport because. Like, I'm not trying to hate on any bodybuilders, but it's quite self-absorbed. Yeah. You have to be selfish. You have to put everything first. You have to put bodybuilding first out of all your life. Like, have you got kids? Nah, I've got to focus on my sport because bodybuilding is the one sport, well, not one, but I think it's one of few, it doesn't leave you. So you got to sleep, you got to cardio 24/7. Whatever you do during the day impacts what it looks like at the end of the day on stage. Yeah. And so, what it taught me was discipline and having a urgency, but also determination that whatever you do right now is going to equate to the goal. Yeah. Where, a lot of the time in life, everything is instant. Everything is literally you instant, straight away. With bodybuilding, it teaches you patience. It teaches you grind. It teaches you don't see results immediately, but you've just got to be so delusional that eventually it's going to pay off. Yeah. And so that's something that I think bodybuilding really taught me was to be patient, to have drive and determination. I'll be honest though, I think unfortunately bodybuilders, they do suffer from some form of mental demons because a lot of the time they constantly are critiquing themselves. They're always criticizing themselves because they're always like, oh man, my calves are small. Oh man, my chest isn't that big. And so what I found was it's not a nice place to surround yourself with because what you do is you end up critiquing other people. Yeah. Like, oh, he doesn't have a big chest or he does, to make yourself feel better. And for me, that was probably the biggest thing that I didn't really find appealing because you shouldn't have to cut someone else down to make yourself feel better. You know what I mean? To make yourself look bigger. Yeah. And so, it's like anything. You take good and bad from every opportunity and every situation you've been with. So for me, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like I took the fact that, it taught me discipline, it taught me drive, it taught me patience, and it taught me to literally go 400 and you'll get the rewards. Yeah. But one thing I will recognize is that it's not a healthy thing mentally because everything around your life has to suffer for that one sport. And the thing is, at the end of the day, unless you're in America, you only win like a $2 trophy. It doesn't equate. It doesn't equate for me. I just couldn't. I couldn't get my head around like spending thousands of dollars to look good. Don't get me wrong, you look amazing, but for a $2 trophy, and then that just I couldn't continue. So for me, I was like, I've done it. I've proven that I could do it. I've shown it, and it helps with marketing, obviously with my personal training side that I used to do. So yeah.
You must see a lot of them that are going through the journey, and you just picture, oh man, I know what they're going through.
I praise I definitely praise people that are currently going through it. Like it is amazing, because the grind is hard. Like it's very hard. Like it was funny when I was coming to the studio. There must be a KFC somewhere around here. I smelled the KFC. I was like, shucks, at least I can have the flexibility to eat it. Yeah. Where if you're competing, nah. You can't do that. Nah, you can't do this, can't do that. And like at the moment, I'm so busy with work. I don't want to have that as restricted. That's my one outlet to let myself go for a bit. Have some burgers. Like after this, I'm going to get some burgers after this. That's for me. That's my fix. So yeah. Yeah,
I was going to say like, what was your outlet other than food? Is there anything else? Because you're surrounded by, I guess, your gym, your other businesses. Do you have any other outlets?
No, it's pretty boring, eh? Like my life is real boring, eh? Like I literally wake up, meditate for a couple of minutes, reflect on what I'm thankful for. I'll get up, brush my teeth, do all that grooming stuff, feed my dogs, jump in my pool so it's cold, expose myself to cold temperature. I'll then check my emails, have my coffee, and then I'll go to work, be at work by about 5 a.m, knuckle out a couple of hours, then I'll do my cardio, come back to work, work again, meetings, all that type of stuff. And then I'll usually work until about, say, 1, then have some lunch or have my first meal, and then I'll go back to work, and then I'll train maybe for 30 minutes, weight sessions, and then I'll work to usually about 7, if not 8, go home, see my dogs, and then I'll usually work again for maybe an hour or so, checking emails or whatever, and then, that's usually a Monday to Friday regime, and then Saturday it's kind of just critiquing and just staying on top of bits and pieces, loose ends, and then Sunday it's prepping again for the next day, but also going to church as well, so... Oh. Yeah, I don't really have time for hobbies, unfortunately. But for me, I love my work here. Like, I think when you've found a job or when you found something that gives you vitality and energy, it gives you that ability to work hard because you don't find work hard, if that makes sense. Because it's something you've got a passion for. And for myself, I would encourage anyone that's watching this podcast or listening to this podcast to find something that gives you vitality, that makes you scared, but also gives you energy to wake up and also hit the floor running constantly, because I think, what's life without fear, if you're always living life safe, I don't think that's life. Sure. You should always live life on the edge with risk, because it exposes you to your true potential. That's what I think anyway. So,
good to... I'm just interested in because I seen on a bit of the social media, like a lot of they've gone to this cold showers or cold ice baths. So you do that regularly? In the mornings?
So I've done it. Funny, I actually started it about 2-3 years ago. I never have a warm shower. Yeah. And I started this way back. I forgot who told me, but it was off a podcast. And so what they said was, There's a lot of physiological benefits you get from it. So apparently in the morning it raises your testosterone by like 14%, and it helps you. Oh, that's all it was. It was Tony Robbins. That's all it was. The great man, the master motivator. And so when I found out that he did it, I was like, shucks, I got to give this a go. And so I just started doing it when he did it. When I heard about him doing it, and then I end up hearing about various people around the world doing it, and the studies showing what it does to you. And so for me, I've taken the benefits of what Tony Robbins says, but also for me, I look at it I'm starting my day off on fight mode, not flight mode. Yeah. Because I'm literally doing something I don't want to do, but I'm pushing my body. I'm like, no, you're going to do what I tell you. And so that's what I always try to say to people. Start your day off fight mode so that anything you come into contact with, you're literally ready. You're armored. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would encourage anyone to do that. There have been a lot of studies shown that it helps with immunity because you're exposing your body to cold temperatures. So for me, that's something that I've done for a long time. Maybe 2-3 years, not long, but for quite some time. And now that has become a trend. It's pretty cool to see people like, I'll give it a go. But it is really good.
How long are you in there?
So usually so there's a guy called Wim Hof. So he does like a breathing technique. So I'll usually take about 40 deep breaths in, deep breath out. And then I'll literally stand there and I'll try to give thanks. So I'll stand there and give thanks for 3 things. And then I'll try to tick off something I want to do. So I think it was on Friday, yesterday, I was thankful for the gyms, the home, and all that type of stuff. And then my goal was to reduce my social media screen time. And so what I did was I took Facebook off my phone for that day as a distraction. And so I did that. So it can be from anywhere from maybe 2 to 3 minutes. One time it hasn't been that cold, but I am preparing myself for when it gets really cold. Shucks, honestly, man, because I know one day I forgot what day it was, but like a couple of weeks ago, I jumped in there and it was like literally knives stabbing me. Shucks. And so I was like breathing, like literally trying to get up, man. Oh, it was the worst. But it just helps me get my mindset into fight mode. So
nice. Boundaries, bro. Like it's good to see that you give yourself those type of boundaries in terms of how much time you want to allocate to social media. But how useful you found that, brother?
I'll be honest, it's hard because a lot of my work is on social media. So for instance, like our community pages, they go off. And so obviously I interact with people via social media. And obviously with marketing, it's crucial. So I've found a benefit in the way where you're not just mindlessly scrolling. But in saying that, it is difficult because sometimes I'll miss out on certain things that people will tag me on, or like our community pages that we do a lot of work with. So it's helped me to be a bit more productive. But you do, obviously, with the work that I do with gyms and all type of stuff, I do miss out on a lot of interaction during the day. But I give myself like for the day, and then I'll reinstall it like towards the end of the day. And then that way it's kind of like I catch up on it. Yeah. So for me, it's just something that I'm trying to work on at the moment, because like sometimes obviously you can mindlessly scroll, and then all of a sudden you look, holy crap, 30 minutes gone, 20 minutes gone, 40 minutes gone, you know, where you could use that for more of value for your goals. So yeah,
good for not just for social media, but there could be some other ways. So maybe a technique in terms of they have these boundaries.
Hard out.
If there's something that you always struggle with, maybe just cut the time.
Just cut it. Yeah. I know that a lot of the phones these days, you can actually allocate screen time per app. So like for Facebook, like you can literally say, I want to do an hour a day, and I know that it counts it down, and then once you hit that hour, it will literally lock you out, I think. Yeah. So definitely it's about finding those little cues to give you some discipline, but also like what you said, the barriers, those boundaries. So yeah.
Discipline, all right, because I think I've passed you a couple of times, but I'm finding you right outside of Papakura.
Yeah.
And this guy, I'm like, man, this guy's running the
roads.
You're miles away from home. And I'm just going, man, but you obviously, you like that time on your own.
Yeah. So part of my morning routine, so I usually go to work, check my emails, get some work done, set my day up, and then usually 6:30 to 7:30 is my running time. So I usually had a road run, and it's usually a 10-kilometer run every day. And so for me, it's about just testing myself to the point where I'm doing something that I don't want to do, but enjoying it. Because what it teaches me throughout the day is to enjoy the boring stuff. So running 10 kilometers is boring. Like it's the worst. Like there's no enjoyment out of it. Like, and so for me, it just teaches me discipline where you've got to do the boring stuff to get the result. Kind of like bodybuilding. But for me, it's about programming my mind so it's used to that. It's the norm. So that's why, I'll run all the way to Manurewa and then all the way back. And it just sets me up. And it gives me that endorphin fix as well. Not an artificial one, but a natural endorphin fix. So I feel good. You've got a good sweat up, and you just start the day off on the best note possible. So when, you come to meetings, you feel good, you got energy, you got vitality, you've got endurance as well. So it's got multiple benefits to it. I enjoy, I would encourage anyone, especially our brothers, to go out for a run. Whether it's 1 kilometer, just start off with 1 kilometer and just slowly build your way up. I've been doing it for about 6-7 years to get to that point. So you're not going to run a marathon immediately, but it's about putting those little wins in and just putting those little markers in. Like, I can only run 1 kilometer, that's cool. So tomorrow I'll run 1.5, or I'll try to do it nonstop. And, it's all about recognizing those small ones, because the small ones always add up to the big ones.
Oh, nice, bro. Hey, man, I'm just listening, this is our proper discussion around just life in general, but I can just see, a lot of your interests in that have sort of worked in your life, but notice it's coming in through business because of the patience side, working away the grind. Probably enjoying your work that you do, rather than having it forced on you. But I guess coming to the end, brother, and that was pretty fast. But like you said, it's always of value when we get our guests coming in here. Just anything on your mind, you just want to impart onto our men or our community, bro.
Something that I would encourage our men is to not listen to your mind as much. So one thing I always try to say to people, especially if you've got like depression or you feel yourself coming to depression, don't listen to yourself, talk to yourself. That's what I can always say. Don't listen to yourself, talk to yourself. So for instance, you can be sitting on a couch and literally your mind will literally tell you you're useless, you're overweight, you're no good, all that type of stuff. And if you sit there and just listen to yourself, it's not going to be any benefit. So what I can encourage people is just to talk to yourself. Remind yourself of the value that you bring. Remind yourself that you're a great person. Remind yourself that you're a strong person. Remind yourself of all the things that you bring to the table. And what you'll find is those mental demons will soon disappear. And will become a smaller voice compared to the bigger voice. And I know that a lot of our men, they go through these struggles and these issues because you've got social media and you've got the demands of daily living costs rising. And so obviously the demands and the recognition of a man can be questioned. And so I think that's where a lot of our men, unfortunately, they do the big S.
Yeah.
And so what I would encourage our men in our community is, like I said, when you're feeling down, don't listen to yourself, talk to yourself, always.
Solid finishing to that one, brother. Really enjoyed the chat. Really, thank you for giving up your time, because it's time we only have a limited amount of
Exactly,
it during the day and that.
Yeah.
So to give it up and to be able to come and have a chat on Organic Talanoa.
No, anytime,
Thank
Muzo.
you very much, my brother.
Thank you, Mozo.
Yes,
Thank you.
Well done, bro. Cheers.
This one's for you and you and you. And you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Da 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 da.